les vamos a presentar From HODL to Spend, Real-World Bitcoin Solutions for Retail and Institutions. As a moderator, you're going to have Juan Muñoz Gallego, who is the founder and CEO of Khullar Academy, a leading Spanish education platform specializing in intensive boot camps on AI, blockchain, Web3, data, and digital innovation. He bridges technology, education with real market demands and actively participates in Bitcoin and digital asset events as an educator and a speaker. As for your panelists, you have Jos Lazet, who is the CEO of Blockrise. You've got Matthias Homan, B2B and go-to-market leads at Bit2Me. Iñaki Zubeldia, who's the CEO and co-founder at YesweCrypto. And Khushboo Khullar, who is the head of financial services at Aristag. Please give them a warm welcome.
Este es de simulación. It's a fake one. Now it's talking. So I think I have the best panel. It's from holding to spend. So I think Michael Saylor is also watching us now. I heard that he's thinking on sell Bitcoin. How do you see? We are starting to sell Bitcoins instead of holding.
I don't think so. We have to hold always, because with that treasure you can make a lot of things. So in my opinion, you have to hold the Bitcoin always, because in the future will be higher than today. And I think it's very intelligent to have a plan for treasury for yourself or for your company. And I think it's our own to make these kind of things. Yeah.
I agree that there's some opportunity cost to spend an asset that you think is appreciating down the line. So holding is absolutely rational at the moment. So the closest we have to start spending on it is really by taking out loans against, like collateralizing the Bitcoin that you hold and then creating liquidity that way.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a bit more controversial perspective, but I think Bitcoin is one of the most liquid assets we have. So, you know, using one of the properties of it being so liquid should be a feature. So why have such a concern? I mean, if there's a concern that there's a single guy owning that much Bitcoin on a centralized way, I mean, that's more the concern that we need to work on, and it shouldn't be a problem that he wants to sell because it's a liquid asset now.
How do you see?
I think it's not like we are competing over like store of value versus whether we can use it as a collateral. Now it's been so many years, everyone understands what hodling a Bitcoin is. It's a pristine asset. Now if you can have, without selling it, you can have it as collateral and do stuff around it. Why not? Just be cautious of the risk. That's all I can say.
Always that I'm in a panel like this one, I'm asking if you are a Bitcoiner maximalist or do you think there is a second coin? I think Aldona is near to us, so she's always saying there is Bitcoin, anything else? There is something else that Bitcoin?
Well, in my opinion, is my opinion. So I think we have to have different assets in your portfolio, because I think it's more intelligent, because if everything is Bitcoin is okay, and sometimes maximalism are betting off that, I am of the opinion that it's better have different assets in your portfolio, because you can use the different coins or the different tokens to your goals in your portfolio. So I am of the opinion that to have different assets because of that. So I don't know, what do you think about?
I agree. I come from TradFi. I'm a big fan of diversification. But in a sense, you have a feeling that Bitcoin has become so big, so predominant, that it's quite difficult for anyone else to take that space. So,
which alternatives do you see apart of Bitcoin?
I think there will be alternatives that we don't know yet. But at the moment, it's Bitcoin for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things to consider is the Bitcoin as denominator story. I mean, as long as Bitcoin is denominated in dollars and euros, and that's leading as a value representation, you know, then you should leverage against other assets. For example, lending Bitcoin-backed loans is an interesting proposition because you basically use the strength of Bitcoin to gain a long-term exposure to it. However, this might change if we start thinking as Bitcoin as denominator. You know, if we start pricing things in Bitcoin, then it really becomes a different story. But yeah, I don't think that's anytime near. It will take some years, but maybe, yeah, you see it differently?
I mean, I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I mean, I'm not here for a financial advice, but I generally, anything around Bitcoin, be it, as a Bitcoin-backed loans, or even as I'm very much for corporates to have it on their balance sheet, to have Lightning Network as payment rails. I mean, everything, our ecosystem revolves around Bitcoin. So for me, it's a pristine asset. And if we are building anything seamless and for people, because we can talk about ideologies. In general, we are just 1%, 2%, but in general, when you talk to other people outside conference, they want to see a product which is easy in UX, which they can resonate with a traditional finance product. So I guess if that layer, you know, is clear, then they will understand like how Bitcoin is more important, and so that's my take.
Also, Skiller, so we are a startup. We used to have fiat in the bank, but when I was having a discussion with the bank, asking, okay, I have money in the bank, what can I do? They say, okay, you can have 2% every year. Inflation is 4%. I say, okay, so there is no much option. With Bitcoin, we said, okay, makes sense, at least to compete the inflation, but we can do more things using it like a collateral. Do you see more and more people just using, not just holding, also to use it like a collateral, Iñaki?
I don't know, it depends. I think there are people who only hold their Bitcoin because they are waiting to the price growth very much and then sell or buy and sell. But I think people is realize that Bitcoin like a treasure is very nice for themselves because you have sovereignty about your financials because you have an asset that you can use like collateral, etc. So I think the uses that I see is hold or a little bit trade or just collateral. I think that.
Matt?
I agree. I mean, I don't have much to add. I agree that that's what we currently focus on a bit to me as well. Lending against those portfolios, not just Bitcoin necessarily. But other than that,
maybe to challenge you a little bit, like how important would you say is the ownership of a Bitcoin when you collateralize it? Like so that I think this again to challenge it a bit. I think that one of the most important things is that you can at least verify your own Bitcoin holdings at any time. So as much as I think you guys are good guys, but what if there's something internally going wrong or whatever? So what is your view on lending against Bitcoin versus arranging proper custody?
well, we have the Bitcoin in custody. We have it in an account that you can see as a borrower. You can see it at any point. We don't touch that Bitcoin.
And so every client can verify their own Bitcoin on chain independently of you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's I think one of the most important things that we need to. But they don't have keys to it, so they.
No, but they can see it, but they don't have access, but they can see it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things to do. So, and maybe towards your side, like, what do you feel? How do you feel about covered calls or derivatives, rehypothecation, those kind of things?
I mean, I come from I'm based out of Singapore, so it's more crypto friendly and less Bitcoin. But family offices and high net worth individuals do understand when it comes to sovereignty. I mean, self sovereignty. I'll be honest here. they don't care. They're much more concerned about how much interest rate they're going to pay, what is going to be the LTV, what is going to be, how the liquidation is going to happen, because they're looking for short-term loans in duration of like 1 to 3 years tenure, and also they only take loans when they know, okay, this can appreciate, and they have extra cash to also, you know, take the risk. They are quite leveraged, but if I talk in general, people still, they can have incidents like BlockFi and Celsius, because no one cares. All they care about is, yield, or all they care about is there's a sense of FOMO, and without getting into how that yield is being generated, or why the interest rates are so low, or where the custody is happening, who holds the key, it's still a missing gap. You guys are doing great. So yeah.
Jos, there are more and more companies in Spain that are thinking on using loan. Mica is helping for them to go for it, or Mica is more like a barrier?
So I think in general, Mica is really to set a level playing field for the most common services. So it's very much trading, custody, transfer related, meaning that payments, mining, and lending are out of scope. So it doesn't help directly, but in general, I think that for us at least, it opened up conversations with banks that we couldn't have before, and we see just it really elevates the trust in the companies. However, we still need to keep fighting for sort of self-regulation to improve the standards, because Mica is very generic. It's a first base layer. It's good. In most ways, it's good, I think. But yeah, there's going to be Mica V2 and V3 to make it even better. And I really hope that lending will be also part of this scope, because it's obvious one of the best use cases of Bitcoin today.
Do you see the same, Matt? Mica is helping on.
I would agree.
It up, or?
I would agree and say it's a net positive. If people who say there's a lot of friction are pretty much the ones who are not regulated. But overall, you would say that not having Mica was the blocker that institutions wouldn't start trading, and now having it really, probably that piece of legislation brought us more inbound than any marketing campaign we've done before. So overall, yeah, definitely a good framework to have. The problem that you have is what you said, it's that uniformly applied to everyone. And while it's here to protect customers, it's also at the same time applied to someone who's done a lot of due diligence, KYB processes, and so that's a bit of the friction. That's where I see there has to be version 2, version 3. But overall, for sure, positive. Retail doesn't care about it as much. All they want is a good app and low fees.
Iñaki, do you see you are living directly here in Spain? So Mica is helping us to speed it up all the Bitcoin ecosystem?
In my opinion, it depends. In one side, I think yes, because it's a frame that we can use for legal things, etc., and more security. We can see the exchange in Poland was bankrupt or something like that, and the owners go out, and a lot of people lose their money because they don't have Mica. In that sense, I think it's a positive way. And on the other part, I think the regulation, the same that with the AI, too much regulation, in my opinion, is a bad thing for compete with another markets, that they don't have that strict regulations. So I am agree with that kind of things of, okay, different versions in order to improve the original law, but it's a path that we have to walk. But in my opinion, yes, but it has to be improved.
Also, I'm serial entrepreneur for the last 20 years, so when you can see that everything improves, so in production, operational, but in finance, we are almost doing the same. So at the end, when I was talking with legal department and accountants to say, okay, we are going to have Bitcoins, everybody said, wow, how you are going to do it? And I said, okay, we are not going to be Michael Saylor, but just to have some part of the reserve in Bitcoin. Legal was really scared, saying, wow, why we are doing this? And in the accountant, I said, okay, we can ask for a loan. We can do many things that you are usually doing with the bank. It's going to be the same. We are using a different collateral. What are the tips for companies, for those startups to start to think in a different way, Matt?
Well, I think that's what you have, but you're absolutely right. So it's very important to know how to hold it, how to report it, how to make sure that the legal team isn't too scared. And that's where I would have to say that it's super important to have a regulated partner and regulated companies who can speak to you on an eye-to-eye level, to speak the same language. They understand what it is. They've been going through everything with the regulators. I think that's very important, and a lot of companies are just waiting to find that right partner, that right framework that is now more or less arrived, or the first version of it has arrived. That's at least, those are the conversations that we're having. We're not having necessarily the conversations. Once people come to us, it's not, they don't have to be convinced about Bitcoin anymore. It's like they've come to that conclusion, but it's really how can they use it, how can they use it on their own terms, and that's where they need guidance from regulated partners.
Yes.
Maybe also to twist it the other way around. I think that we've seen a lot of adoption, like let's say the generic adoption of people taking Bitcoin as an asset. However, there's still so much to win on the side of implementation. So, I mean, we come from a custody side. That's one, giving back the ownership to the users, but also on, for example, treasury planning. I mean, I think that any startup that raises funds, they can suddenly have a few million on the bank account. They should consider a position in Bitcoin, but how to manage that, how to administer it, how to account for it, how to, what is a good risk-weighted approach. There's virtually zero development on this side. And I think that's going to become more and more important over time because, as you say, there's 2% interest on the accounts and 4% inflation. So you're just running backwards while you're trying to grow your company. So this is also to the market, which I'm lacking really. Like we've seen from the very early days, the trading volume and trading games and exchanges. They've done very good jobs in general to make it a liquid asset, to make it available to the people. But now that we've considered Bitcoin is there to stay, we need to move on to the next, courses is like, okay, what are we going to do now? So lending is, of course, a good opportunity. But actually bringing it to life and considering cash flow companies and how we can optimize it in order to protect ourselves. And actually, so regulated institutions are important. We are one of them. But I also think it's important to consider some self-sovereignty in the sense of keeping your own custody, having balances, having multiple options to liquidate in order to liquid your assets. So you are in control of your assets. And it's even the best regulated firms can make mistakes. They can be hacked. They can, so you always need to take a risk diversification approach there.
Cool. Because from our idea to have 1 Bitcoin, from the 0 to €1, 1 Bitcoin was like 10 to 11 months. So I had to talk with almost my wife, my investors, with lawyers, to everybody. Also to identify who is going to be the partner, who is going to custody 10 months for the first Bitcoin. What are the tips to start having Bitcoins in a company? What do you suggest?
I mean, it depends on the jurisdiction you are from. So for example, in general, everybody wants to copy the playbook of strategy or MetaPlanet. But say, for instance, if you are from India and there's one publicly listed company that tried putting up, like 21 BTC on their balance sheet, but they didn't get the clearance and even didn't get the reason for that. They said, because we don't have the clarity as such. So when you have something in vague, companies there's a setback for them. But if you, and let's talk about other instruments also, like for example, ETF. We don't have ETFs in Singapore, so it completely depends on which jurisdiction are you from. So if there are countries like Honduras where, it's very easy to set up a company, you can do accounting in Bitcoin. It's done on Bitcoin standards. The tax rates are really low. So it comes to a point, where are you from and what's your goal? But if it's a country like US, then you can have more mature product, more mature ecosystem. The users understand and the founders know what they're building and for whom they are building. And I guess we are in a technology adoption curve where it's gonna take time, but we're trying our best. So my tip is only, just be sure what you're getting into, being as an individual, being as a corporate, and what works for you. I mean, that's what I can say.
Yeah, do your own research.
Yeah.
And how do you handle when Bitcoin is going 50% down? Because we already suffer. I see people that have experienced and these kind of things, you are not worried about it, but how do you pitch to companies about this kind of volatility that we have in Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I mean, I can add to it. I mean, I think in the end, Bitcoin makes most sense for long-term exposure. So you like from a very general, it doesn't matter if you're a person or business, it's, you should invest more than you're allowed to lose, than you can lose. Because in the end, the volatility is a given, and that's part of the adoption phase for now. So, I mean, if you have the opportunity to buy more, of course, I mean, that's something to consider. But the volatility is there, and for example, lending against it is quite interesting because, the loan itself is not volatile, it's the underlying asset, but it only works if you have sufficient capital to have those, the volatility in the LTV. But I mean, in the end, this is exactly the same as buying stock on the company. If you're investing in stocks, penny stocks especially, they're also extremely volatile. So that is something to always consider. And the volatility of Bitcoin is reducing over time. So, well, yeah, be risk averse depending on the capital and how soon you need it.
Matt, all good?
I agree, definitely long-term approach. I mean, if you're a public company, you might have the double whammy where your stock price might go down and your treasury might go down. In general, yeah, as you say, don't invest more than you can lose or willing to lose. But it's definitely riskier than holding cash in a bank account, and there's a reason why you might get higher yields in stable coins, in Bitcoin, whatever it is. So, yeah, definitely caution for sure, but have a long-term approach. No panic selling won't get you anywhere either.
Cool.
I mean, I would say it depends on what sort of an investor you are. If you are into short-term investment, then this is not the space for you. I mean, you're going to get a heart attack. And if you're a long-term investor and if you want to look at the price and be like, okay, if it's a dip, I want to buy more, great. But if you keep on just looking at the price and price action is something that drives you, then that's a mess, So it depends on what part of capital you want to put it in Bitcoin. And I would suggest, to keep, don't put all the eggs in one basket. So give it a diversification. Like when you buy a house, you don't check the price, every second. So it completely depends on your risk appetite. So to each his own. So yeah, this is what my suggestion.
Yeah, maybe the last thing to add is in general, I think the most accepted low risk approach is dollar cost averaging. I mean, so just building up a position over time by dollar cost averaging, very specific. And if you have availability, of course, you can lump sum. But it's a very common approach and also very common with the platforms and the apps to encourage this.
I think we have 6 minutes. I want to also know your company and how it's helping in the ecosystem, moving from HODL to do something else. YesweCrypto, how is helping the ecosystem in the custody? How is helping?
Yeah, we created YesweCrypto just for create a tool that help people to make auto custody. because sometimes people don't have education about that. It's the same that volatility. You have to understand the volatility in order to control it. So Yoseyomo is a piece of metal made for keep safe the seed phrases, because sometimes people lose a lot of money because we are used to keep our assets in 30 parties. So that auto custody is very interesting because you have to have a extreme diversify in different, in exchange, auto custody, and it's the same that they're talking about. You have to put the money that you are willing to lose in the worst case. So we created that coin just for give a very good tool to people who wants to make auto custody, in that case, companies or individuals.
I think Bitcoin is giving us freedom, but also a high responsibility, because people need to understand it's no one keeping your things, and you need to keep it by yourself. Bit2Me. I think Bit2Me is almost everything. Actually, all the things that we are moving in Skiller related to Bitcoin, we are doing with Bit2Me, because I think, at least in Spain, they have everything under control. And at the end, what you need for the investor is to show that everything is under control. How is helping Bit2Me to the full ecosystem?
Yes, I think our approach, or the approach of Bit2Me was, I mean, they've been around for more than 11 years, and the approach was from the beginning to go fully compliant rather than certain other platforms or players who might go Wild West in the beginning and then try to backtrack and get everywhere, get compliant with everything. The focus was very much from the beginning, being compliant, try to actually safe keep the client's assets. As we said, for lending, for example, they're absolutely segregated, so there's no further speculation on our side with any of the collateral we have. And what we try to offer is a wide range of products that our clients can use, especially on the institutional side. We have dedicated customer account managers who really try to understand what it is they're looking for, how we can help them, what products may or may not make sense for them, and then go from there.
Just Blockrise, how it's helping all the ecosystem, just moving from whole to use Bitcoin for our day-to-day.
Yeah, so we come from a different perspective where we were a Bitcoin custody software company for a long time, for over 6 years, so we founded in 2017. And basically we made a pivot into becoming a Bitcoin platform because this custody challenge that we wanted to solve was not really being adopted. So we just enforced it ourselves by becoming a platform and serving end users. So we do personal, corporate and institutional accounts where we have a semi-custodial platform. So we give back the ownership of the Bitcoin to the users in a very user-friendly way. So they maintain their own wallets, their own keys, but they don't really notice it. This is the custody solution. And then on top of that, we have broker, asset management, and lending. And 2 weeks ago, we went live with Bitcoin-friendly bank accounts. So we issue full IBANs with deposit guarantee scheme up to 100,000 euros. That's just live now. We're rolling out across EU, including business accounts, and then we start offering like really banking integrated services, so Bitcoin-backed credit cards, those kind of things. Again, all with keeping the Bitcoin ownership with the user.
Okay, cool. Lightning Venture, how is helping us in this ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. So I work with 2 companies. One is Lightning Ventures, which is a VC fund, and we invest in Bitcoin companies. Our investment thesis is pretty simple. Anything around Bitcoin, no crypto. So we have invested in around 43 Bitcoin companies, and that's one way of helping the ecosystem and the founders. Second, we have a crowdfunding platform also. It's called Thunder Funder, where we invest companies that have just started pre-seed, and generally for non-accredited investors. So only accredited investors are allowed to invest via fund, but here you have other people to join the ecosystem and be part of this. And also, I'm also part of Amity Age, where it's into Bitcoin education. It's into Bitcoin mining, so they have mining sites in Ethiopia, Norway, and also they have a mining pool, and they have financial services where they have an OTC desk and they do Bitcoin-backed loans. So in a way, we are helping the founders, the people, in a 360-degree approach, yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you, Aldona and MadBitcoin, because I know Aldona actually is living in the same city that I'm living next to me. She made a great effort during 1 year, fully 1 year, preparing an event like this one. I think we are already competing with Prague, that is also doing an event in Bitcoin. So I want to thank you to Aldona and MadBitcoin, and a big applause for all the panel today.